afternoon, ma'am. Sorry.
Good afternoon, Ranjit.
Good afternoon.
Everybody. Edupreneurs and Education Today invites you all for today's webinar on Understanding of National Education Policy, Part 1, which is on the sector of preschool. So today we have in our panel Mr. Preetham Kumar Agarwal, the founder director of Hello Kids and Riverstone Preschool and K-12 schools. Good morning, sir. Welcome.
Good afternoon, everyone. Thank you. Good afternoon,
And
sir.
We have Mr. Pranay Oswal. Good afternoon, Pranay Oswal.
Good afternoon, Swati. Good afternoon, everyone.
And we have Dr. Padmini. We have Dr. Padmini. Okay. So we will be, good morning, ma'am. Welcome to the panel discussion, ma'am.
Hello to everybody.
Yeah. Mr. Preetham Kumar Agarwal, founder director of Hello Kids preschool chain and Riverstone schools. And then he is a ECA, vice president of ECA India. And then he has 638 branches all over India and abroad. So welcome to the panel discussion, sir.
Thank you. Thank you so much for inviting me, madam.
So, and we have Mr. Pranay Oswal. He is a founder and managing director of iCube and senior director at Bassett Education India, territory head at Early Childhood Association India, Pune district. So welcome you, Pranay.
Thank you, Swati. Thank you very much.
And we have Dr. Padmini, a child right activist who has worked for 2 decades with UNICEF, retiring as senior intersectoral advisor. She is a founder trustee of Child Right Trust, Bangalore. She is also a founder member of Alliance of Rights to ECCD and a charter member of the Indian Alliance for Child Rights, both national and international networks. Welcome, madam.
Thank you. Namaste to everybody.
Request everybody to come on the video so that we can have a very good interactive session. So today we will be discussing about the preschool sector. What is our understanding on this preschool sector? See, after 34 years, revolution is being created in new education policy in India. So national education policy is aimed in bringing about several changes in the education system from school to college level. It brings much awaited reforms and regulatory framework which caters to the need of a 21st century of India and unleash our children and youth's energy for the self-reliant and better India. So first of all, I would like to ask the panelists, like, what are their views on NEP, or what are their understanding on NEP? Preetham sir?
Yes, madam.
So what are your views on NEP, your understanding on NEP?
All right. So thank you so much. And I really congratulate all Indians to understand the new Indian education policy, which was a much awaited for people like us, those who are really working in this field for I'm really personally working for the last 15 years right now. And trust me, now I'll say we are formally recognized in India, which is very important for the early childhood education. I will say now we are adopted by Ministry of Education, And yes, Swati, it is very true that after 34 years of waiting, now formally ECCE is recognized in India. And I really congratulate for the whole team, those who are behind this new education policy. This is our third education policy as such. So we have got the first education policy in 68, then we have got in 86, I think, and then we have some changes, almost some basic changes has done in 1992 also. So with the third policy, at least at the third policy, we have now been able to understand how important is the early childhood care and education is. And trust me, there is no policy which is going to work without the foundation years. That is what I believe. Importance of foundation year is the foundation of that visionary policy which is given to India right now, a new India, a new education policy. And it is very comprehensive. I was going through the words which is used, and I'm really thank you to the policy makers. And even I was in touch, I was able to follow up the NCERT work where they in I think 2019, they came up with a preschool curriculum. And now the policy even says that they are trying to reduce the curriculum content. They are all talking about the experiential learning. They're talking about the 21st century skills, how the holistic development, how a discussion based, how a communication, community learning, and how they are going to take the help of the parents and the peers in the learning phase. And as I told you very clearly, is the foundation level is that foundation for the nations, whatever the learning outcomes, whatever the goals they have, it is only achievable with the strong early childhood policy only. And I was going through some of the old facts also, which is to be very precisely to understand. And I think even in 1986, when the government was talking about 6% of GDP should be spent on education, it is not in 2020 it is there, even it was there in 1986. And I say that, yes, with this progression of at least the inclusion of early childhood education, I think that money will be spent by the government into that category very well, because this is a very new category which they are going to work on this. I know there will be a lot of administrative challenges, there will be budgetary challenges, but finally and formally the EC is in place right now. So let's see how with that 2.5 lakh of suggestions they have received it. And I know that even I work as a core team member of early childhood education, and the core team led by Dr. Swati Popat was also a proud what you call as recommended, they have given a lot of recommendation for the early childhood sector, and there are a lot of points has been taken over, and it is already there in place in that new education policy. So this policy talks about around 60 pages, 65 pages of policy in terms of early childhood care and education. But I believe that the education for early childhood, which was in NCERT given 2019, there are a lot of things will be taken care of from that part. So let's see from the other speakers and let's learn from each other. And definitely if any other thing which I want to communicate, definitely I'll go ahead on this part. Thank you, Swati. Swati, you are there? Am I able to listen?
Yeah. 1 second. So, yes, sir. Good insight from you, sir. So now I would like to hear from Pranay that how does it help the preschool sector or the early years?
Great. Thank you very much once again, Swati, for inviting us over, and wish you all a very good afternoon, everyone, particularly in Bangalore, because I'm assuming most of us are from the southern part of the nation today. Having said that, it's very important. I mean, what Preetham rightly mentioned, right? It's a pretty long document, and for us to cover it in just simply pointers, it is not really fair enough. So it's very important to understand the previous people who have been instrumental in drafting the policy. So when we talk about Dr. Daulat Singh Kothari, right, in the year 1968, So there were there were a lot of loopholes in that policy. And if I have to be very upfront about it, it was primarily focusing only from 6 to 14 years. All right. At the same time, the new policy that is being spearheaded by Dr. Krishnaswamy Kasturirangan, I mean, he's not just any man. He's perhaps Padma Shri, Padma Vibhushan, and Padma Shri, Padma Vibhushan, and there are certain laureates which this person, and he's a living legend. If you have to ask him in today's times, he could also be the next Bharat Ratna. But there's a lot of weightage and there's a lot of credibility that is brought to this policy, because this person alone, Dr. Krishnaswamy Kasturirangan, he has got laureates from 16 different universities of the world. All right. So when we talk about that, this also says that he has traveled across different education systems very carefully. At the same time, when we try to understand the policy referred by Dr. Dr. Daulat Singh Kothari. So over there, if we have to go in detail about it, he had a very high influence by Meghnad Saha and the Britisher Ernest Rutherford. That is the reason it was not really important for him to give reasonable amount of importance over here. At the same time, the new policy is very much talking about a lot of interesting things over here. And to begin with, if I have to broadly talk about it, I'll just try to narrate it in 3 to 4 aspects over here, particularly. It is talking about incorporating Anganwadis, Balwadis, nurseries, junior KG, senior KG, grade 1 and grade 2. That's where the primitive foundation stage is talking about. At the same time, the vision of the national education policy primarily focuses broadly on 3 things. If I have to read it verbatim, it's a policy and an education system that contributes an equitable and vibrant knowledge society by providing high quality education to all, number 1. 2, develop a deep sense of respect towards the fundamental rights, duties, and constitutional values, bonding with one's country, and a conscious awareness of one's role and responsibilities in a changing world. And the third one is instilling skills, values, and dispositions that support responsible commitment to human rights, sustainable development in living, and global well-being, thereafter reflecting a truly global citizen. At the same time, if we talk primarily about it for the early years, it is really talking a lot about foundation level learning curriculum, particularly, and also incorporating a very strong ECC curriculum at Anganwadis, preschools, and Balvatikas. It is also, I'm very happy to say that now it's going to be under the purview of the Ministry of Education, which was pretty much left out for a very long time. In fact, for last so many decades. It is really talking about universal access for early childhood care and education. It is talking about multifaceted education. It is talking about preparatory class. It is talking about foundation level curriculum. At the same time, it is also giving a very strong importance on the learning outcomes. It is talking a lot about incorporating play schools and full K-12 schools and bringing all these schools together. It is also talking about bringing all those 2 crore students back into the education system who do not have access to the same. And it is also talking a lot about creating a very strong national curriculum and pedagogical framework for early childhood education, which will be drafted by NCERT. So yes, this is the policy of this is apparently the first policy of the 21st century. And it has really given a lot of emphasis on research and the best practices, which would be coming under NCP, FECCE. At the same time, it is also talking a lot about incorporating multifaceted framework, which comprises of alphabets, language, numbers, colors, shape, outdoor play, logical thinking, visual thinking, linguistics, spatial interpretation, painting, craft, drama, puppetry, music, and so many other things. It is also talking about incorporating a 3-month play-based school preparation module for all grade 1 students, which will be again developed by NCERT. And at the same time, if we have to talk about the good things about it, we have a very unique demography in our country. And apart from all these things at early years or secondary stage, the only great thing about early years in our country is for every 100 students, we have 116 seats. At the same time, this is not the case at higher education. This is not the case at secondary education. So these are my brief pointers about this. I would be very happy to take a lot of other pointers from my other fellow panelists as well. Thank you, Swati.
Yes, Mr. Pranay, as you clearly said that these points which you had mentioned now, we had never, thought about all these points. The strategy behind this, we never understood. Actually, as educationists, everybody has to understand the strategy behind the education policy and then move forward. So, Padmini madam, what are your views on this, madam?
Yeah, good morning, everybody again. As an overview and view on this, I have very mixed reactions to the NEP. There are many, many good things, and it's very welcome that it has taken this path of a totally different view. But actually, it has some points which is lost from the draft policy, which they put out for comments last year, and this one. But in both, one of the most important things which I'm glad about is, in this, in fact, it has been an emphasis on the development of the individual and all stages at this point, and how the education should help the persons grow in their personality and individual development, but also contribute to the national development. Whereas formerly it had only emphasized national development. And now the second point, which as Pranay said, it has emphasized knowing and understanding and imbibing the constitutional values which are enumerated and we discuss quite often. That is another very good point. A third, especially for ECC, it is the first time that they've recognized that 80% or so of brain development, growth, child's personality development is before the age of 3 years. 3 years. And this recognition, which is based on scientific fact, has never been really enunciated before in this field. Though in the national, there has been a few, I don't know about how many educationists are aware of this, but national ECCE policy was adopted by the government of India in 2013. And that is supposed to override every other policy. And if you look at that, it is on the website, and it is very comprehensive. It recognizes the same point of 80% development, and also that a child has multiple interlinked needs and facets to its development, what we call a holistic development, which includes not only learning, as we call it, age-appropriate learning, joyful learning. I'm talking of the child under 6, and but also stimulation and health, nutrition, protection, and care. And what is most important is that this 80% of development, if it is lost, not fully developed before 3 years, it is irretrievable. So this point is not, however, followed up, though it is mentioned in NEP, it is not followed up, and that is a great drawback. How are they going to deal with a child who comes already at age 3 with most of its capacity for development gone, if it has not been enhanced? Now, you might ask, how can they bring the under 3 child to the school? Nobody is asking for that. We are saying that it should be through the parent, through the caregiver, the Anganwadi worker, or other social worker who is mandated to go to the house and help the mothers and fathers, and let me say that the whole family, to understand how to stimulate the child. We have some traditional methods. We have some obvious methods. When you put a string of colorful playthings above the cradle of the child, you're giving one source of stimulation. When you sing a song to the child, you're another. But all this, if you can make it more structured, then it would be good. And this, it is not accepting, it is not mentioning, it just says the child is there ready. It is not a blank slate. but that's how it seems from here at age 3. That's a big drawback in this policy. The second major point I found was, I accept the other issues they've mentioned, but the upgrading of the Anganwadi, you see, preschools, there are 4, as Pranay said, there are 4 types of methods of reaching the child under 6. Even the 3 to 6, let us take it now. And there, the 4 types, there are different levels of capacity, understanding, attitudes to the child. There is one set which is doing it very holistically. The methods are very child-friendly, and it is looking after everything in the early learning process. But it assumes that the parents will take care of the health and nutrition. So that may be all right for the better off, but it will not do for the poorer children or the less understanding parent. So the second point is, on the other side, end of the scale, is a poor child who goes to the local Anganwadi, and contrary to what some people think, Anganwadis were not, ICDS was not meant to be only a health and nutrition program or a feeding program. If you look at the original concept note of ICDS in 1975, it was a very holistic, extremely well thought out document. The problem has been in the implementation. Down the ages, it lost sight of all the multifaceted aspects. So if you look at that, now the Anganwadi worker, who is quite often not so well educated, is overburdened and is given too many responsibilities even outside her mandated job description. The point is that how do we expect a level playing field between this elite preschools, the Anganwadis, and in between there are a mushrooming of private early child centers, which are of doubtful quality in many cases, and in fact may be damaging the child by giving inappropriate, too early a formalization of the education, for example, and a lack of attention to other aspects, as I said, of a holistic early child care. So this is the 2 main things that worries us. The third is also the training, and it's good that it's come under the Ministry of Education, but as NEP itself says, they will have to work in collaboration with the Ministry of Child Development, Ministry of Health, Nutrition, and so on and so forth. And there is no more about it. They do not again say, how is it that we are going to get all these aspects? Because unless the early child care is composed of the multiple aspects of interlinking aspects, the child will not develop as it should in the first 6 years. I'll stop here, and there are other aspects we can come back to.
As you said, it's correct that all these years people have never noticed that the child's brain development happens, 80% of brain development happens by the age of 3 to 8 years. So the thing is here, as you said.
Sorry, not 3 to 8, 3 years, before 3 years.
Before 3 years.
Before 3 years, okay. So before 3 years. So when this is there, why all these years the preschools or the early educators or the early learning has not been recognized by the government?
Well, that is the question we have to ask. As I said, there had been.
Is there any solution for that? Now also, can we fight for that?
Of course we should fight. Some of us have been fighting for more than 50 years for this. ICDS, as I said, if you please look at the document, we may look down, many people look down on Anganwadis as something for the poor. But if you look at the concept, it has these aspects. It emphasizes the early training was also on all these aspects. Somewhere along the line, the government what can I say when you ask why governments don't attend? That is also the influence. India, let us recognize and say it boldly, is the most unequal society in the world. And we don't care. The elites don't care what happens to the poor. So what they've done is they've just gone along and created their own substitutes. Or even they have some problems, but let us say on the whole, there are good schools based on good practices. So that, and they do take early joyful learning, age appropriate learning, rather than pumping information and skills into the young child in a rote learning type. All this is being done. So there is these two examples. And if you look at a good ICDS center, it has all these elements, and even the preschool center. In Bangalore, I can tell you, there are many ICDS centers which are being supported by NGOs who have improved the quality of the activities, both health and nutrition and learning, and have, there's a joy to see their early learning activities. And they're very simple. They don't have expensive toys and all that, but they have some play materials and there's a lot of creative learning. So there are examples. It is again, why do we find two totally different levels of healthcare in this country? The same kind of thing. If you want to really make it good, you have to accept that you have, I don't want a lowest common denominator here. I want parity, I want equity, which is not there, but this has to be upwards. So you have to bring up the poorer Anganwadi centers, Balwadis, and so on, to the level that you want. At the same time, you have to examine all these private schools, which are totally unregulated today, and they are getting away with murder because they're spoiling the life of a child, which is unpardonable. So what we need to do is to look at what they do. I know the private sector does not want regulation. It thinks it's an interference from the government, it's a nuisance, there are lots of bribery and this and that. But unless you have certain common norms, standards, and some way of judging whether this, aren't we trusting all these many people? They just go and set up a preschool facility. Nobody, they don't need a license, whether they're really equipped to teach or not, or equipped to look after children, we don't know. And these things are happening all the while. And the reason why it happens, why governments don't do it, governments and private enterprise have often been in cahoots. So that's all I can say. I'm not mincing words. We know what is happening in this country. So it's
I agree with that.
Yeah.
If I can add something over here, Dr. Padmini, to your point.
Yes.
Swati, you mentioned, right, that it's been almost like such a long time, almost over 70 years. We have gained our independence now, correct?
Yes.
So I very, very sharply remember that day, 26th of September 2019. Okay. I remember I was with Preetham, a very good friend of ours. We are doing some work together in the field of early years, directly and indirectly. Preetham has a very broad role to play, however, because he's one of the biggest contributor to early years in this country. At the same time, I still, again, coming back to the same point, you mentioned about ever since when we are talking about development of the brain happening till the age of 3, correct? Why is it that the government has not played a simple role? I raised a question over here when we were giving our suggestion to the national education policy, and all of you all can please write your comments over here. You all can post it in your chat if you agree with me or not. I personally believe that to seed empathy in the power holders, okay, to seed empathy in the power holders, unless and until every minister's son, every minister's grandson, every minister's daughter, and every minister's granddaughter, unless and until they do not enroll their children in government K-12 schools, in government Anganwadis and all these Balwadis, we will never see a significant change in our country. God forbid if something goes wrong, if at all something goes wrong with any of their family members, all right, they should only visit government hospitals. If we really want to see that significant change in our country, So unless and until we do not have some of their own blood in this entire system, right, we will not see that change happening. At the same time, I'm very happy and glad that the government has now realized, and Dr. Kasturi Ranjan, Dr. Krishnaswamy Kasturi Rangan, he has really brought all these things, and he being a scientist himself, he being a physicist himself, he has made it a point that he has studied all these things at multiple levels. I'll share some interesting fact with you all. We have more than 1,08,000 plus single teacher schools in our country. So let's say even if we have 100 students in these 1,08,000 schools in our country, which is completely run by the same teacher who is teaching maths, art, science, history, geography, and many other, be it music as well for that matter, and sports as well. We are putting at risk more than 1 crore 8 lakh students' career at risk. Do you even realize the amount of stress and the amount of efforts the school teacher needs to put in, because she needs to make sure that all these kids need to go through a similar amount of learning once again? That is the reason why companies like Infosys particularly, they are setting up campuses in Mysore. Companies like Wipro, they are coming up with a 1-year program even after hiring engineers. Because of their fundamental literacy and because of their formative basic grammar and English, which they have never learned till age 8, they need to put in so much of efforts to make sure their life skills and their overall comprehending skills are brought into play after 1 year of rigorous training in these campuses. So they are actually putting them in another schooling system, in the corporate education system. Good part is, this time the government has made sure, like Preetham rightly mentioned, more than 250,000 suggestions have been welcomed across, from educators, from parents, from school owners, from industry experts, and a lot of other people. So that's a very good sign. We are just 1 month old today. I remember broadly the 29th of July, it was my birthday, and the new education policy was formed. And the last policy was also formed in the year 1986, the year I was born. So I will always have a lot of interest in reading, because it will have a lot of attachment to it, because the way this policy has come, right, I think it's a new ray of hope. We should all celebrate the 21st century, the first policy of the 21st century. And another beautiful thing which the policy has also spoken about is incorporating 74 arts, 64 arts by Bhanbhat, which he has mentioned in his book, 14 Vidyas and Chaucer art, the 64 arts, which every Indian should learn. So there's a lot of inspiration which the new policy has taken from Bhanbhat. I strongly recommend all our viewers to please read about Bhanbhat today after you are done with this session. He is really covered every single, and believe me guys, all of you are watching it, if at all, there are a lot of women over here who are watching this. Most of them are already through with more than 50 to 60% of all those things which are covered by Bhanbhat's Chaucer Vidyas, Chaucer Arts, Chaucer Kalas. Thank you, Swati.
Preetham sir, you were about to say something.
Yes. I fully agree with Padmani madam, and I want to contribute something on my experience, my personal experience to share. Padmani madam well said that the early childhood was not that developed in this country, and with my 15 years of experience, madam has rightly said, the mushrooming schools and those who are really not just doing justice to the real development of the child in the initial years is very, very wrong. And trust me, I will tell you, Padmini madam, I'm talking about the year 2005 when I was trying to enter to this industry. I was going on a lot of Googles and I was trying to search that what is the importance of preschool. Trust me, at that point of time when I was trying to enter with a marketing background, with a postgraduate degree, I was able to search on Google, and it used to say, trust me, I still have opened it to give it to my audience now, that if you go and Google it, that what is the importance of preschool or early childhood education, it will say you a lot of research from a lot of other countries where they will say that 25% of the people are more likely to drop out of the school if they are not doing early childhood education. It says that 40% more likely to become a teen parent. It says that 50% most likely to be placed in special education, 60% more likely to never attend a college, 70% more likely to be arrested for a violent crime. Trust me, this was in my mind in 2005 when I was trying to enter to this school. So how important that early childhood education is, what Madam just rightly said, that we need to understand, and now it is recognized. I know there will be a lot of rules and regulation coming in picture. Those who are doing real pedagogy, real philosophical research-based curriculum, and I'll say a very basic to understand that if we really follow the curriculum given by NCERT 2019, was a more comprehensive curriculum to use by the preschoolers, right? So that is my understanding to the importance of early childhood education. And yes, as Pranav, thank you so much. 2005, we went to rural places. We saw what is happening. People are reluctant to send a child to a preschool. Even I'll congratulate the team of National Education Policy that they have written the word called preschool. It is not something else. It is not early childhood centers. This is a name which is already there in this industry right now. If I say my 15 years of experience, preschool, play school, kindergartens, yes. So thank you that they have already given it. And we are really waiting for that rules and regulations, regulations which standardize the process of education and assessment, whatever is given to us.
Okay. So now another question, like now preschool is been extended with the age criteria of 7 and 8. That is, up to 8 years. So is it going to get implemented the coming year, or how is it?
Okay. As per my understanding, madam, I was listening to a lot of policy makers. All the state government has already started working on it. The information what I have it is NCERT is already working on the framework curriculum. They are saying that they are already printing some worksheets, everything to go and reach to the people. As far as I know about UP and Punjab and MP, they have already started rolling out, and they're expecting that the coming academic year, they'll be able to do justice to the early childhood care and education.
Okay. So Pranay, what are your thoughts on that?
Padmani madam will give more this thing, because he has worked with a lot of government this thing. So she will know exactly that 21, 22, I think that we'll be able to roll out with. I will say that as far as today is concerned, I'll go ahead with the word from Padmani madam on this.
Thank you. But I'm more concerned, rather than the date from which it will start, to its actual composition and thing. It's not very clear from the policy. Of course, one doesn't require a policy to spell out all the details, but the overall concept and strategy itself are troubling. The reason is, it is called the Foundation Mission for Literacy and Numeracy. Again, there is too much emphasis on literacy and numeracy, which is inappropriate for the under 6. After 6, which is an RTE rule for entry into schools, though many states are not following it, the emphasis starts beginning, and that's why it's still in the foundation stage. It starts beginning to be on learning the alphabet and the numeracy and the literacy starts. Or from 5, you can have the school readiness program. But what we need in the foundation years, first of all, is encouragement to the child and enabling the child to be more creative, to be more able to express herself or himself, to become able to think of all the world as something bigger than just what it is there in a book or something. So the application of questioning. In India, we do not encourage questioning by students. We are again killing the spirit of creativity and critical thinking. This is what we should be emphasizing. Along with that, in the playway method, which many are familiar with, through plays, songs, and blocks, and whatever else you want, drawings, and so, as somebody mentioned already, that is how you start the thing. So the very nomenclature here, foundation years, foundation mission for literacy and numeracy, is a little wrongly placed. Now, how soon they will be ready, it will again differ from state. Finally, don't forget, say, education will have to be actually implemented by the states. We always have different progress levels from the different states. We know who the traditional laggards are, who the progressives are. So this will also go through that. So if you know, again, I come back to the ECCE groups. As I said, many people may not be aware. Not only was the national ECCE policy, I don't agree with Pranay that this is the first policy of this century. There has been the national ECCE policy, national child policy also, which included education. So it was not only for education. Anyway, coming back to the national ECCE policy, we have had state ECCE policies, including in Karnataka, and I was part of the task force then. And this was under the Ministry of Women and Child Development. But they would consult Ministry of Health, Ministry of Education, and so on. So again, there we have the holistic concepts being pushed. If you look at the state, Karnataka state ECCE policy. What we also did was to have a subgroup of which I was not a part for curriculum development for the ECCE stage. So again, that unfortunately, this draft ECCE policy, I forgot, you cannot look it up. It is still a draft, the cabinet, I don't know why, whichever cabinet, previous government, this government, everything, they have not passed it. They've held on to it. And the curriculum is also the same. But there has been progress in all this. So my point is, if they say go, Karnataka may be ready to go next year. Another thing in Karnataka, Tamil Nadu and all that, you have the Nallikali concept for classes 1 to 3 in schools, which is also more of a playway concept, starting to become a little more formal. So we have various examples which we can build on, and we should not lose them at all.
Okay. Pranay, would you like to add something to this point?
Honestly speaking, yes, there have been a lot of changes in the policies, but a full-fledged policy after 1968 by Dr. Daulat Singh Kothari, after 1986, and after 2020. This broadly is considering all the broader points, and it is really putting in, we have a good, strong regulatory body, which would be governing it, all of this. At the same time, moving forward, last week of September, I was listening to a talk and an entire session which was arranged by FICCI, wherein Dr. Kasturi Rangan was there. We had Mr. Amit Khare, and we also had Dr. DP Singh over there, wherein it was mentioned clearly that the last week of September, they are completely rolling with a good 150-pointer plan, which is going to be a recommended action plan, how to go about it, at what stages. Now, what you rightly mentioned, right, when it comes to a state has to play a very strong role, because unless and until the money is not released from the center, and at what stages and how clearly the money is released, the implementation will really not take place. Because for any new development, money is required for every small, at least for the standalone playgroups and standalone schools, because they cannot sustain with all the investments to be made by themselves. It is also talking about a lot of training that needs to be done. So what about the existing training? A lot of teacher training needs to be done also for the overall staff, also for the center heads, because it needs a different level of investment altogether. That is where it is also talking about continuous professional development for a minimum 50 hours. Okay, I repeat, minimum 50 hours. So it can exceed up to 100 hours, it can go up to 150 hours as well. And unless and until the policy is not into play, it might take 2 years, it might take 3 years, it might take 4 years. But broadly speaking, 2025 is the goal wherein the government is planning to broadly implement the entire policy in play.
Okay. Preetham sir, yes.
Yes, I'll just adding to some points to Pranay. Pranay, I was listening to the principal secretary, Mrs. Anita Karwal, okay, on the panel of Mr. Anil Swarup almost 2-3 days back, and she has already given that pointers, I think so. So that is already available on YouTube. So I think that pointers is already ready by the Ministry of Education. Next one is, as Padmani Madam was talking about 2030, the developmental goal which is planned by the Ministry of Education for this new education policy about literacy and numeracy. Madam, in a lighter note, I will say that that is the time when they'll be able to organize and administer all the preschool and Anganwadis together, so that the goal for they have given that should be ready before they attend the school, and to be very precise, it is very clearly mentioned even for the 3rd, 4th, and 5th standard that they will continue the playway learning method of education. So it is, thank you from your side to point that literacy and numeracy, that is very important aspect of 2030. That is the goal they have set, that by 2030, every child should be school ready with literacy and numeracy.
Oh, I'm sorry if I was being misunderstood, I think. I said while literacy and numeracy are important, what is even more important is the development of the child's personality and towards the wider understanding of and being creative and inquiring and critical thinking. So I think the overall, I have no problem with literacy and numeracy. The sooner, in fact, 2030 may be too far off. 2024, 25 may be what desirable. And actually, if you attend, we have seen in Better Off Homes, even before they go to school, how the child plays with things which you give. We give a lot of fancy things for the child, blocks, this, that, and the other, and picture books and so on. And it catches on. That is the magic of childhood, that you do not have to sit and with a stick in your hand teach these things. You need to only expose the child. And you can expose the child to multiple things, it will catch on. And I want also, if Swati permits me, to spend a minute on languages.
Yes, madam. That is the question people are raising here.
Yeah, I want to say that India is naturally a multilingual country. Not only a multilingual country, we are a multilingual state quite often, and in the south especially. And even in a city or a suburb or anywhere you go, in one area, slum or layout or whatever, you may get 10 languages, 5 languages. And a child which grows up in this milieu will absorb all these languages. And the more it absorbs and understands, the better its brain neurons will develop. The neurons of a brain will have multiple interlinkages. This is scientific. Go and look at the science thing of the neurons and the synapses in the brain. And at the early age, it becomes very closely intertwined. And this different languages will help. And we are killing it by insisting on one language in schools. And people, whether it is elite or not elite, I think this is a great mistake we are doing. We are killing the ability of a child to become conversant. I'm not talking of reading and writing, to understand and perhaps express multiple languages. We should be encouraging, if the child speaks in its mother tongue in an English medium center, or in a mother tongue where the regional language is Kannada is being taught, there is used. If the child speaks in Marathi, Tamil, or whatever. The whole thing should be that the teacher, of course, cannot understand every language, but that if the child expresses, I have heard that they are quite often punished, and this is horrible to learn. As I said, we should be encouraging multilingualism, and this has been, again, anybody can look it up on the web and see what I'm saying true or not. And so what I'm saying is, let us be very liberal in the idea of education in the early childhood stages. It is not that kind of formal education, institutional. It is what happens everywhere. When it goes to play with its playmates, it may be a child who speaks Urdu at home, Tamil at home, Kannada at home, or whatever. The child will learn a few things about everything. And culturally also it's good. So my point is that the formalization, literacy will come naturally to such children when they're exposed with a lot of pictures and other aids in their center, and also encouraged to express themselves in different ways. I'll stop. Oh, one more thing I wanted to respond to what I said. He said it is a well-regulated strong regulation is proposed in NEP.
Yes.
I did not see that strong regulation. It talks of a light but tight, and I don't know what it means. Going by our history of regulation in this country for private enterprises, I think the emphasis will be on light, and even there they will now relax and relax. Look at whatever they've done, even in education, they have given way to all demands. Again, I'm not now talking of whether each demand is good or bad, but they've never stood up. In healthcare, they could not get the doctors to agree to something, regulation. We have given way to the private sector all through, and we have abjectly failed to impose a certain minimum standards and norms on all service providers that will benefit the people. So we have left out the majority of our population in favor of a few, and we are, as Pranay said, if the minister's son and grandson and so on go to the local Anganwadi or something, or the local health care center, no, also the healthcare in both health and education, then they will sit up. But also society, we ourselves are at fault. I'm talking of those who are the means. We always go and choose the private healthcare center, private facility, or the private education and preschool education. So the fault lies. So at least if you have the regulation, which should be for both government and private, and it should not be punitive, it should be supportive.
Very true.
Yes. And I would like to understand that what syllabus are we going to follow? If at all we have to, understand from this NEP. So what syllabus are we going to follow?
All right, to me, madam.
Yes, sir. Yes, anybody.
Madam, as I earlier said, that 2019, I will suggest everyone, or I can share the link also for everyone to understand this part, whoever are the listeners today. I think that at the NCERT, given the curriculum framework in 2019, I think this education policy will be focused on that 2019 curriculum given by NCERT, and it will be very, it is, as we were part of ECA and we were also discussing on a ECA core committee that the curriculum given by NCERT in 2019, it was late 2019, that ECA has done a comprehensive study of curriculum from 30 different countries, all right, in the leadership of Dr. Swati, and a well-known research. We have a lot of committee members, and after seeing the 30 different countries curriculum, they said that India has now got the one of the best curriculum, which is really, and I say, a internationally adapted, a regional flavor given, which is really an attainable goals and activity which is possible in some early centers. That developmental growth, that holistic development is already been incorporated very nicely in that curriculum, and I think that this government will definitely rely on that curriculum which is already given in 2019.
Okay. So
I will share it to all the listeners. I have the link of that, and it talks about the classroom sizes, it talks about the developmental stages, it talks about the assessment, it talks about the classes, it talks about the teachers, it talks about the parental involvement into how they will help the child in the learning process. That community support also is already a part of that curriculum.
Okay. So will this syllabus will be the same pan-India, sir?
Madam, Padmini Madam rightly said that it will be definitely a state, always an education is a state subject. And I hope that by seeing the new education policy 2020, definitely I think a lot of consideration will come from the state government to take it from the NCERT, and they will definitely have some language addition, deletions, whatever we are expecting. But I say it will be the same across. I am expecting that it will be the same policy now. The new India will accept the new education policy.
You hope so. So, is there anything to add, Pranay? Or
Yes,
shall we?
yeah, I would just like to put it in a minute or two, perhaps. It is
Yeah.
also talking a lot about incorporating a couple of broad areas when it comes to adopting core essentials of all the subjects and reducing all the books, reducing all the bags and all the stuff. Okay. It is also talking a lot about critical thinking, wherein focusing on critical thinking and inquiry and discovery based discussions, discovery based education. It is also talking a lot about analysis based teaching methods. It is talking about holistic education. So, the curriculum which would be adopted, which would be executed pretty soon, I'm very glad that they have also incorporated a lot of inquiry based, developmentally appropriate studies. And at the same time, it's going to be a lot of interactive with the help of a lot of online classes, a lot of experiential learning as well. So we talk about MOOC, right? Massive open online courses. So we have a lot of programs today, which all the K through 12 schools have already started adopting. When we talk about Upgrad, when we talk about Vedantu, when we talk about Byju's, when we talk about companies like White Hat Junior. So all these things are already in play. In fact, they are also talking about 21st century skills. Starting from grade 4 and 5, they're also introducing, from 6, sorry, they're also talking about introducing coding and other subjects. But what is something really interesting is I find it the way kids are asking their questions already, the way they are putting up their curiosity and inquisitiveness already. I have a 2.5-year-old daughter. So the amount of research I think I also do with my own kid at home, the kind of questions she asks me, the quality of questions she throws at me. So I am in the dilemma whether I should, whether I should ask her or, whether I should question her again with a counter question. And if I have to ask you this question, right, parents have become very smart and very intelligent in today's times. So more than a principal interviewing a child today, it is a parent who is interviewing the principal in today's time. How much is the principal going to involve? How much is the involvement going to be from their teachers? Or is it only going to be like a discussion based meeting and the principal will never be seen after that? The center head will never be seen after that, correct? So yes, the curriculum is equally important because a lot of emphasis will also be given from parents because parents are equally smart in these times. And this is one broad area which I think I have to share about.
Okay.
Swati,
So,
can I say something?
yes, ma'am.
Talking of online classes and so on, it is clearly specified this will be for the school after, not the ECCA part. So ECCA, in fact, it is highly undesirable that a child under 5 even what we are allowed to watch in many of our houses, the TV and use the mobile. Electronic thing is supposed to be very bad for the brain development of a young child. And so it is not very, and I don't see NEP recommending that. It only talks of online issues, and again rightly points out that when they are able to give every child a laptop or a smartphone and so on, they would like to do this, that, and the other, many different things. Because the reality again is, we know there is a deep digital divide, and already if somebody can access and use Byju's, it is the elite child. The kind of smart questions that Pranay's child is asking, yes, it is true. But I don't think most parents in India, with our 50% or 54% literacy of that age group, now it has become 75, but what kind of literacy are we talking about? Have we really examined a very poor person? We have people who say they've studied up to 5th grade. When you ask them to write one sentence in Kannada, they can't do it because they've forgotten. That's the way our teaching has been. Also, our teaching is not deep-rooted. So this functional literacy and numeracy is much better because they have to go to buy something, they have to sell something, so they learn some simple numeracy. But literacy is almost in the mother tongue itself, in the tongue they studied. I'm not asking about other languages. So my question is, all this is fine, but we, the government and society, has to provide this support to the, what I would say, the vast majority of parents. We are talking of a minuscule group who are able, the parents are smarter than the teachers, and all that is true only for that group. Let us please keep in mind the total population. Just because we send a mission to Mars doesn't make us so wonderful when people can't even have food to eat, or a shelter over their home, or they walk home like migrants. Let us keep this perspective. So when you do that, you realize online and all that is a very good idea. I totally support it. Not the way, of course, some people are telling me that in their early 7-year-old child has to sit 4 hours. Imagine that 4 hours of screen time is too much, perhaps. Anyway, I'm not going into the school education part at all today. There are views on it, and we can discuss it if you want another time, or whoever wants, but can talk, and I as a participant can also put my question. My point is this, that when we talk of ECCE, online for some parents to help them and stimulate their young children may be a good idea, which we have said, but only for some parents. So what do you do with the other parents? That's where the home visit of the Anganwadi teacher comes. And the home visit of the Anganwadi teacher can demonstrate to the mother and father what to do. But then she doesn't have the time, which is why in restructured ICDS, which was rolled out in 2012, there is a provision for a second Anganwadi teacher, specially to do this early childhood stimulation and health and care, nutrition, and mother's health and nutrition, because the child's brain starts developing. We call it the first 1,000 days. The first 1,000 days is not the first 1,000 days after birth. It is the first 1,000 days after conception. 9 months of the mother's pregnancy plus 2 1/4, 1 3/4 years of the. So by age 2, the child's, that's the most crucial time for brain development and health and nutrition and everything else. So my point is, if you want to really stimulate and help the children, yes. So the second Anganwadi worker may have to go in such cases. There must be such provisions, and we should develop them equally. I am not at all against online. I use a lot of online myself. I can see how useful it can be. So let us remember that divide should not be go perpetuate.
Madam, I have a question for you, madam.
Yes, sir.
Madam, as I said that while designing the curriculum for the early foundation years, I think they will consider NCERT's 2019 curriculum, right? And as you said, when Pranay was speaking about that, even 2013, there was a early childhood education policy by Women and Child Development.
No, not education, sorry. Early childhood policy.
Early childhood policy, yes. Early childhood policy.
Government calls it early childhood care and education.
Policy, yes. 2013.
When you work over, it is called early childhood development or early childhood care and development, which is a much preferred term, but that's it. Our constitution said ECCE, so that's what they're using. Go ahead, please.
So what I'm expecting is 2017, there was a commission, National Commission for Protection of Child Rights. They have given one regulated guidelines for preschools, play schools. Yeah. As per me, I think that will be also a lot of points will be considered while framing the regulatory framework. I think they will follow that guidelines given in 2017.
You see, here we are both saying, I think, and we hope, and all that. So it has to be conveyed to the government, and they have to accept it. But we are not the decision makers. Some of us may be able to influence to some extent, but not.
as far as us is concerned, we do not have anything else to follow and see that what is going to happen. So based on their own policy past, obviously that will be the benchmark to start for the next one. So curriculum, I say NCERT, rules and regulatory, I say child protection, what they were given in 2017. So these are, I think that is what I wanted to communicate to my listeners, that even as a big players in the industry, and we are there across India, we are also guiding on some past government instructions, so that we all understand that this is going to something similar, And to be addition, obviously, by seeing the future of 2030, what government is planning, definitely we'll have some new rules or regulations for running it and the education part, both.
Let's hope so. Let's hope so.
Yes. So I think we are running out of time now. Again, we have a bird view on this new education policy. As you people said, the time is not enough to discuss in 1 hour, so that we will be having another session on next Sunday also. So we will take it over on that day. And again, I'll be coming up with the question answers now. There are few questions raised by the listeners. So will first and second standard be included in preschool? This is the first question.
I am optimistic, and it is going to happen like that, madam.
Okay. So, and the second question is NOC required?
Madam, what about the other two guests? Let them also speak on this.
Yes. Padmini ma'am. Pranay, you can also go ahead.
Yes.
I really doubt if it's going to happen. I very strongly believe it will not really happen that fast, because first of all, it should support the infrastructure. Okay. So those schools, those who are running from a single bungalow, those schools who are running from a single flat, those schools who are running in a precisely 500, 1000 square feet area. And if you have more than 100 kids over there, more than 50 kids over there, it's a big question of infrastructure. So I somehow don't believe that it will happen. However, what I still believe is those schools who have been not really paying attention, those school owners or those standalone school owners, to be very specific, they might be just adopted by the bigger schools, because bigger schools have the infrastructure, they have the resources, they have the ability, and they also have the budget, correct? Because somebody who has just started the school just a year or 2 years ago, and if he's asked to start up with a new adoption of grade 1 and grade 2, first of all, is that teacher equipped enough, or is that teacher even trained enough to train a first year or a second year student? Okay, so that's a big question. I think that needs to be answered, which will be answered end of September. I strongly believe when the new pointers will be introduced about how to implement, and all the action plans which will be rolling out in the last week of September. I think Preetham has to say something on this.
I was expecting the same from you, because Sir, you wanted to tell something?
Yes. Pranay, what I'm expecting is, whenever you have seen in the past, and Karnataka has got a rules and regulation to run a preschool. When there were a lot of different state has come up in the past 2-3 years about some regulations about the preschools. And when they are talking about a preschool regulation, the first thing comes into picture is per child space. Right? It is not a matter of that it is a small building and you are going to have 100 students. So as far as my understanding, it was earlier, let's say, a 9 square feet for every child, or a 20 square feet for every child was into some policies of the state. When it is going to be there, I don't think it is a small building or a big, right? If I have a 2000 square feet bungalow, and if the policy says 10 square feet per child, so I'm able to take almost around 200 children in that premises. Right?
But you'll also have other stuff, right, Preetham?
Yes.
It's not just students alone.
Yes. So this was per child square feet. It is already mentioned in a lot of state government whenever they have given a rules and regulation to regulate preschools. So what I'm expecting also the same thing also is that as again, if you are not including the first and second into a preschool system, again the problem of what you call it transition will happen. They don't want that transition issues when a child is going from a UKG to a different school altogether. I think that is the reason behind keeping even the first standard and the second standard together to the preschool environment. That is the reason they say it is a foundation stage, and they say that this is a 1 cube of learning space where it is going from a nursery to a second standard. And again, if you see, they are also expecting that the transition will have a issue from second to third standard. Even they have said the third and the fourth standard, the third, fourth and fifth standard, they will also have a play way method of learning, right? Only after that 6th standard, they are not talking about any playway. They are talking about internship and they are talking about vocational subjects, right?
Like,
But yes, if they are going to talk about preschool, they have already defined it, which is called preschool. And if they do not want that transition issues, they have to keep it in one frame, and that is very clear to everyone as of now.
yeah, you're correct, Preetham sir. As Pranay said, he was mentioning about the teachers training also. Because the same teachers who are teaching in LKG and UKG, how they...
Madam, this is an operational issue. It is not an implementation issue. If let's not talk about the teacher training. I know a lot of best schools in India, right? The top 10 best schools in India, a lot of schools, I'm not naming it, they had not talked about any training in the last 5 years. So it is an operational issue. This is not an implementation issue or something. Lot of schools, I'll take the best of the schools in Bangalore. Let me talk about 100-year-old school or a 50-year-old schools. Their teachers have not attended any training for the last 4-5 years. So teachers training is a different issue altogether. I'm talking about the implementation, that does the first standard and second standard comes into one umbrella. Will the preschool owners will get approval of running first and second in their premises? It is secondary that their teachers is trained or not.
Okay.
I would like to suggest a point.
Padmini madam has got something to say, so let us.
Can I say something?
Sir, Selvakumar sir, 1 minute.
Yeah.
1 minute. Let Padmini ma'am take over.
Okay. On this question, I don't think I quite see it working the way Preetham says, because I don't think, again, we cannot only talk about the best schools and how they can manage or not manage, that they can easily absorb the extra infrastructural needs. What will the majority of schools, whether private or the ICDS centers or the government primary schools, do? I think the idea was that 1 and 2 and 3, etc., would still be with the primary schools. I'm talking here now of the government schools, or even private schools, or generally have grades 1 to whatever. And so that will remain. It doesn't mean that the foundational framework cannot be transferred. Yes, there will be a transition. Even today, there's a transition. Many LKG and UKG stop with just being in the preschool, and children go to another school. By that age, I don't think it's such a traumatic thing. They may be able to, especially if the content and the method and the milieu is very familiar. It's the same kind of thing. The transition is smooth. And they have also thought of one intermediate year, Balavatika period, when they will be focusing on school readiness. That will be for the age 5 to 6. So this is there. But the question is, will 5 to 6 operate throughout the country when many states are using 5+ as the entry point for school? So that's a big anomaly. But let me go back to the majority of poorer preschools and the Anganwadis and Balwadis. They are already struggling. If tomorrow this starts getting implemented, or even in 2 years, unless and until you give them a trained second Anganwadi worker, they cannot handle the professional way of teaching, playway method even, of teaching children. That is one of the things. As for lack of training, that is a big drawback, and that's a different issue, I agree. But whether the present school education sector, government sector, has the capacity to train anybody in ECD or ECCE is a big question. The cluster resource centers and the block resource centers, they do not have anybody trainers trained in ECC. So unless they get trained, they then have to train the next lot, the headmasters or principals or the teachers. So I agree with Pranay. I don't see it happening like next year. All this.
Also another, I'm sorry, but also another thing, Dr. Padmini, which you mentioned, right, about training, and Preetham also highlighted about training of the top 10 schools in the country, correct? They're adopting any training methods. So let me tell you something very interesting. We have authored these 7 books, okay? We have taken the copyrights from Government of India and everything that the new education policy is talking about. All these concepts over here, which you can see, right? We are talking about this for the last 7 years. We are from grade 3 to grade 9. These books are talking only about logical reasoning, verbal reasoning, linguistics, spatial interpretation, memory, problem solving, analysis, everything what an Olympiad does. You will be surprised to know this, Preetham. A grade 3 student is the most brilliant in our category of all India competitions, wherein these scholarships which we are issuing to these 1400 students year after year. And surprisingly, out of all these 75,000 kids year till date, more than 20,000 scholarships have gone exclusively to grade 3, 4 and 5 students. And when we were asking the same questions to their teachers in those K through 12 schools, they were not able to solve it. So we are talking about kindergarten, we are talking about nursery and lower KG and senior KG. I'm also talking about a grade 2 and a grade 3 teacher. Whenever she is not able to train on these concepts, at the same time the kid is doing absolutely brilliant. But now also, when we have to be eternally optimistic, I think this can go on and on and on and on and on.
Yeah.
We are a country of 135 crore people plus, okay? And we'll have 135 almost different criticisms to the same policy. Please allow some time for the policy. We are precisely 1 month old today with the new policy, 1 month and 1 day if I have to be very specific. And if you really have to celebrate, I'll give you a very good reason for all our viewers to celebrate, okay? So the year 1947, we had only 26 universities in India. We have come a very far way, ladies and gentlemen. We have 993 plus universities in 2020.
Okay.
1947, we had only 700 colleges in India that were not even registered, all of them. Few of them were registered. Dr. Padmini will be the best person to talk about this, and she has seen the India and she has seen the needle move from 1947 to 2020. Okay. When we talk about 1947, we had precisely 700 colleges. Today, 2020, we have more than 39,000 colleges in our country. In the year 1947, only 4 lakh students were there who were pursuing their higher education. 2020, we have more than 3.74 crore students who are pursuing their higher education. So I think very far away.
What do we achieve by remembering all this? Yes, there has been progress in any country. There would have been.
But can't we be absolutely eternally optimistic that we have come a really far way? We have given the best people, the best engineers, the best doctors to the world. Of course, there are criticisms. There will be criticisms. It takes some months for a baby to grow. It takes 1,000 days for a proper policy to really be implemented. But allow the policy and allow the policy makers. Any change will be always criticized.
Yes.
Any new thing will always be, even if we have to grow the beard, we need to give it 2 to 3 months to grow, right? We can't say we are partially pregnant or we are pregnant. We are either pregnant or we are not pregnant. Correct?
That is the reason we are waiting for the state government to come and speak something first.
Let's be eternally optimistic, and I'm really hopeful and I'm really enthusiastic that this is something very nice. It has really taken a lot of inspiration from a lot of different stakeholders. And I personally will feel that, and we can tell the world very proudly that yes, we are coming.
True, I agree. And the second question is, if at all, first and second standard is been, included in preschool, then is there any kind of NOC required, and what kind of NOC is required? Because in Karnataka, we do registration for preschools, whereas in other, states, there is no, particular registration kind of a thing for preschools.
Madam, too early to talk on this, madam, because we are really waiting for the state government to come forward and say that. So it will not be the same what was there for the preschool, but now it will be definitely something new coming up.
Okay. There is another question, like there is a clear plan for parent education. Is it going to be implemented? I don't know. This was the question from the viewer.
I don't think we have answers to all these questions. All this depends on the state government and the central government. As Preetham just now said, it is too early to say. I think these questions have to be waiting for. These are very, very detailed implementation questions. We are not yet at that stage.
The thing is here, as preschool educators, as early educators, from past 6-7 months, we have closed down the schools, and every day it's like a big headache for us. Every now and then we'll be waiting for a new thing. What certainly will the government, state government say? What the new policy, say about this? How are we going to survive? So these are the questions, like everybody has in their mind, and everybody are eager to listen to your answers as specialist. So
There was a good sign to say to every those who have really survived on this pandemic. So it's a really good news that EC is now adopted, right?
yes,
Education as a country has come. So it is a new sign of rave to every early educators that you are recognized and now you have a parent. It is not an orphan like earlier.
okay. So, and again about the languages, as Padmini ma'am, mentioned. So here there are few questions like, will Hindi be the second language? If at all we adopt languages, will Hindi be the second language?
I think the new education policy does not specify that the second language will be Hindi. It says there will be a regional language and English and another language. That is it is recommended, because they've been very careful, because they know that some states will at once be angry. Already there have been rebuttals from Tamil Nadu, but even otherwise, other southern Indian states will not accept only Hindi. I think I hope they will accept that, they leave it to the state. And it would, as I said, it is good for children to be getting conversant with more than 1 or 2 languages, and they can manage it. But our language teaching also needs a lot of revolution. The way we teach languages, the way I learned, it is the same today, and all rote learning, and nothing sticks in your head and you forget about it. Whereas I have been to language classes, French and so on, the way they teach is totally different, and you won't forget, and you are able to speak very soon. That is not the way we have here. So language teaching, and also even the government of Karnataka's, I think it is a mistake to insist on English medium from class 1, because even the teachers don't speak proper English. They don't know proper grammar. So when you have the teacher being so useless, I'm again talking of the majority. At least there are always exceptions, and there are excellent teachers of English and everything else. But majority will learn. So I don't think we should, I think it would be better if we can get a overall policy of 3 languages and gradually introduce or whatever. As I said, if you encourage absorption and exposure to multiple languages in the ECC stage, including English, including the regional language and some other language, it will be good, but not teaching, and it will come automatically. So let us hope that they will not impose any one language or leave out any language which the state wants.
Sir, Preetham.
Swati madam and Padmini madam, as a preschool owner, I definitely say that as a child's first school, in early years, it was always a mother language which was being used to understand the child. It was always a receptive language with the child, right? And in our policy, if we all can go through that point number 4.11, 12 and 13, right? It is if the language, if you go and use this, the 3 language formula will continue to be implemented. So there is nothing new as such in terms of doing this. So it is already there. So they have clearly mentioned that the 3 language formula will continue to be implemented. Then in 4.13, it is very important to understand language. The home local language or the second Indian language will be enhanced with the reading and reading of and analysis of uplifting literature for the Indian subcontinent, ancient to modern, and by authors from all walks of life, as well as through other arts, such as by playing and discussing music or film expert, engaging. See, madam, another, sorry, I'm going to talk about something which our Anita Karwal was speaking from principal secretary, and she was also emphasizing that even there will be a lot of local flavors, local history, which will be added to this NCERT book in terms of languages, in terms of state-wise also. That was there, but yes, they are going to emphasize on that local language, local flavors also, which they have already started working on this, and they are expecting a lot of state participation into that part. So I will not say that that is something very new has come. And again, to be very precise in terms of early childhood education, it is already been there as the mother tongue or the regional language. It is already there in place.
Okay. So hopefully we have answered almost all the questions, unless and until we get clarification from the state government. Few questions will be questions as such. So we have to wait for the government instructions, so I could say. And of course, it was great to hear all you three panelists today. And Selva Kumar sir, you were about to say something.
Yeah, I want to add up on something for what Pritam has said. So no education system can be without the role of a teacher. You know, any education system is only a tripolar. A tripolar means at one end there is a teacher, and another end there is a child, and another end there is a curriculum. And the curriculum is nothing but an environment or a society. So when only a teacher is present in a system, the complete tripolar can function as an education system. So the top schools, what Pritam has said, the top schools are top.
So we are not able to hear your voice. Okay, I think there is an internet issue. So again, I would like to mention here that next week, again, we are coming up with, understanding of higher education, primary and higher education. We will be expecting these panelists to join us again for the next discussion also on the same time. So I'm really grateful to you all that you had given us a great insight about what new education policy says, and what how the preschoolers are getting benefited out of it. So let's hope for the best, as you all said, and wait for the next discussion. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, one and all.
Thank you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you, Pranay. Thank you, Padmini ma'am. Thank you, Pritam sir. Thank you, everybody.
Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you, Dr. Padmini. Thank you
It was
so much,
great
Pritam.
listening to you all.
Always a pleasure. Always a pleasure listening to all of you.
Thank you all.
Thank you very much, everyone. Namaste.
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 Thank you so much, all of you.
Thank you, madam.
Thank you. हो गया, खत्म हो गया. Yes. अब उसका लिंक मैंने भेज दिया नेक्स्ट का, और अगर आएगा तो
मैं पता है क्या सोच रही हूँ, रमेश से सामान लाना बंद कर रखा है, मैं बहुत दिन से सोच रही हूँ। और खुद ही फोन करना है ना क्या चाहिए।
नहीं, खुद देख लाके दूध है ना, फिर एक बात है ना, या तो मैं मेरे घर में आके दे जाता है ना।
हेलो